Can you explain what is the situation right now and whether Russia succeeds in advocating its return to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe?
Well, Russia felt rather confident in the success of her effort to return to PACE, but that was only 3 weeks ago. The situation has changed recently. It doesn't feel that confident anymore. It actually hesitates whether to submit its delegation for the consideration by the Assembly in January 2018. And therefore, the situation has changed dramatically compared to what we had only three weeks ago. But nothing has been decided yet, and we should remain vigilant and follow closely all the developments. And in no way should Ukraine or our partners sit with our hands laid down and wait to see what happens in January. We should keep actively working on making sure that unconditional return of the Russian Federation to the Parliamentary Assembly becomes impossible.
What are the major arguments of Ukraine and its partners against the return of Russia to the Parliamentary Assembly?
Well, we stick to the founding documents of the Council of Europe and basically argue two things. First, that the unconditional return of Russia will mean that principles and values of the Council of Europe will be compromised. Because after everything Russia did in Ukraine, after suppressing democracy and the rule of law domestically in Russia, it is just impossible. I mean, it seems to be impossible and inappropriate to accept such country back to PACE without seeing any changes or concessions from its side. And the second point is that there is a number of resolutions adopted by PACE with regard to, in response to the Russian aggression against Ukraine. And these resolutions, they contain a list of demands Russia should implement. So if it returns to PACE without implementing them, this will send a clear message to other member states of the Council of Europe that you can do whatever you want, even commit the most heinous crimes, and still, go away with it, and still remain unpunished and feel no consequences for your misbehavior. So it will be rather tempting for other member states to follow Russia's path of blackmail and crack down on democracy and the rule of law. Some will be tempted to follow, and this is exactly what we have to avoid if we want to maintain the Council of Europe as an international institution of high integrity.
It is generally, sometimes it is believed that Council of Europe is not that much important for Europe than compared, for example, to European Union. How would you explain the importance of this situation to those people who disregard the importance of this institution?
Well, you're absolutely right. Among EU members of the Council of Europe, this institution kind of rests in the shadow of the European Union. However, it is extremely important beyond borders of the European Union in countries such as Ukraine, where the Council of Europe makes a difference by supporting democracy and the rule of law and human rights. So it will be very unfortunate if the Council of Europe gets kind of discredited and compromised in our part of the world, as basically the West will have -1 leverage in Ukraine and in other countries. At the same time, some EU members also face challenges where the Council of Europe can help them and assist them in overcoming this situation. So we all need a strong Council of Europe. But to remain strong, it has to resist the Russian blackmail and reject unconditional return of Russia to the Parliamentary Assembly.
You said that Russia felt rather confident some 3 weeks ago. Now it's not the case. How would you explain the reasons why Russia is not that confident that it will return?
There are three kind of drivers of change that I can mention here. The first one is the work that was done by Ukrainian diplomacy in numerous capitals of Council of Europe member states. We basically lobbied, we campaigned, we advocated, we explained the consequences of the negative consequences of the unconditional return of Russia. Then a lot of work has been done by members of the Ukrainian parliament who actually represent our country in the Parliamentary Assembly. So they also did a lot of work at their level. And we are most grateful to those journalists and experts who noticed this problem and this unfolding crisis. And they paid attention to it in public statements and publications, in media publications. This has dramatically influenced the public discourse and the public debate about the effort to take Russia back. I can assure you that from what I know, Russia's advocates did not expect such a strong public rejection of the attempt to unconditionally bring Russia back to the Parliamentary Assembly. So this was also a turning moment to some extent, changing the public discussion about the matter.
But you say at the time that we should remain vigilant and that something can happen, for example, in December and January. What should we follow and what can happen actually?
Well, we should make sure that no one gets relaxed anywhere, that those who are ready to oppose the unconditional return remain on guard, so to say, and we should wait also until the week before the session of the Assembly begins in January, for the moment when Russia may submit its delegation for the approval by the Assembly. That will be the decisive moment. If this happens, Ukraine and its friends should be fully mobilized to oppose this move and to succeed or to prevail in a vote that will take place about the credentials of the Russian delegation. So we should remain mobilized, and we should keep talking to our partners and those who are still hesitant, trying to convince them to take our side.
Which are the key dates? Is it somewhere close to 20th of January?
Yes, this session will start on the 22nd of January. So the week before the session will be a benchmark when we will see what Russia has on its mind.